I thought I could make it in 25.
No, of course not. I suppose that's how you find out what's going on.
Okay, I'm going to call this special meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your participation, and thank you to our folks from the HLC. I'm glad you're here.
Good morning, all. Good morning. We are colleagues and consultants for Pima Community College and do not represent the HLC or its position perspective on PCC issues. I'd like to introduce myself, and my colleague will introduce herself. And if we could understand from board introductions, well, we know your names and how long you have been on the board and what capacities you've served in. My name is Susan Murphy. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, recently retired from Central New Mexico Community College, like Pima, an urban multi-campus institution serving as a comprehensive community college.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. Jan Smith from Pittsburgh State University in Pittsburgh, Kansas. My background is institutional effectiveness. Like Susan, do a lot of work with the Higher Learning Commission, but we are here as colleagues, not as representatives of the Commission.
If we could have introductions from the board, and we will jump in.
Okay, my name is Maria Garcia, and I represent District 3, which is the west side of Tucson and further north up to Ajo and Cells, which is Cells is a reservation. I've been on the board for 6 years. I'm coming on my 6th year. This will be the end of my term, and I am running for re-election. So we'll see. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Teresa Riel, and this is my 2nd year on the board. I taught mathematics here at the college for 23 and a half years, so it's interesting to be in this position to see how both sides work. Nice, thanks for being here.
My name is Wade McLean. I'm finishing my 2nd year on the board. I'm an appointee due to a resignation, so my term ends in December.
There we go. See, now I'm louder. My name is Greg Taylor. I represent District 4. I was seated at the same time Teresa was, so we're a year and 9 months into my term from here. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Luis Gonzalez. I represent District 5, mainly on the west side of the freeway, and the area around the university as well, too. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you all. We have limited time with the board, just 45 minutes, and are very eager to ask a series of very specific questions. We ask them not only as preparation for the December visit from the Commission representatives, but as an opportunity for some reflection on your own answers. These are questions that we suggest are likely to come from visiting team members, and still as our own preparation, having read the document that is being prepared for that visit, referred to as an assurance argument. We ask questions to understand perhaps more specifically or deeply certain topics where the board has specific roles at the college. Let me start with a question that has to do with onboarding, as we say, orientation. What is it, once you join the college, that you experience as an orientation? Formal, informal? What facets and features are shared with you to prepare you for this role?
Borrow Wade's mic again. I can speak to this not only as a newer board member, but also as someone that didn't have a long background in higher ed. And so compared to, say, Teresa or some of the others that came in with a lot of that experience, I can say, having gone through this process, I felt very supported and well educated, and it was multifaceted. The first part happened here at the college, so we were brought in to do multiple days of orientation, not only with various members of the college's leadership team to talk about the different functions and expectations around the board, but also with the state association, where we were brought in to do an orientation that covered everything from, Robert's rules to the state statutes around the role that the governing board needs to play, so that we were making sure we were following those, and best practices that were established by, the Association of Community College Trustees and other organizations, so that we were really well briefed on there. We were given all kinds of literature, take books and other things to read and understand, and guides about how to be an effective board and effective board members. And then in addition to that, we had a number of study sessions when I first came on the board, where we delved deeply or more deeply into certain topics around the college function. I mean, everything we talked about, enrollment to the complaints process to how we make choices about academic departments, how we've developed the workforce development programs, everything in between. And then finally, we've been afforded an opportunity, which I can say for me personally has been very educational, to attend a number of professional conferences where we could learn how to be better board members, both through the Association of Community College Trustees as well as the HLC itself. And so I've attended a number of those in the last year and 9 months that I've been here to make sure that we're well prepared, well oriented, and can be effective as a board.
I'll just add that the new orientation that I see occurring is a lot better than when I first started. So that was a great improvement.
Well, good to hear. And the comprehensive nature of the orientation you described, certainly good to understand for us. You alluded to, you did indeed mention professional development, the state association, ACCT relationships. Could each of you share a little bit about what development is available for board members?
There's various programs that we are afforded in reference to our opportunity. And Mr. Taylor mentioned the various conferences we have attended. I think those provide us not only the information in reference to the conference aspects, but more important, in meeting other people, networking, but also making collaboration. What are the best practices, but what are the experiences at that moment? I really love the conference atmosphere, because you meet a lot of people and you can really tell what is going on nationally. That's what I love about them as well, too.
What I want to add is the fact that in these conferences, the different colleges do different types of presentation about what's working within their areas, as well as Pima College also having sessions to demonstrate what we're doing. So, that way we learn from throughout the country what's really going on, and maybe get some ideas on what we can do to improve as well.
I'm going to contribute two things. We have a really great state association, and we have the C4, which is the presidents and chancellors from all of the state community colleges. The board chairs also go to those meetings, and so the board chairs have dialogues amongst ourselves about issues that we are dealing with on our boards or at our colleges. And AC4 has, like this last time, they had a facilitator there, and he was amazing. He helped us through a lot of issues, and we decided upon the 3 top issues that were of importance to us collectively at all our colleges. So that's one. And then the second thing that we've done here, we've done almost every semester we have an open meeting law training. And open meeting law is the rule about how we're supposed to behave when we're in groups of more than the majority. And that law is very, there's a lot of things about it. So each time, even though we think, here we go again, every time I've done it, I've attended it, I've learned something new that was said before, but with all of the information that we're receiving, I don't think we necessarily understand 100% of it the first time we hear. So I'm really thankful for the college to help us do that.
The only thing I would add is we have a very close relationship with the State Association, especially the executive director. And in addition to the services that they provide to any board in the state, we've been able to tailor the kinds of things that we think we need, and then they have provided training in those areas. So there's the general aspect of the services provided by the State Association, but then more specifically, if we have a need, or if he has recognized a need after attending our board meetings, he shares that with our chair, and then it usually ends up being a training session on how we can get better with those problems that we may be facing.
This is really helpful information. Thank you. Peer reviewers love specific examples, and you've given a lot of great examples. Obviously, you have a lot going on with your orientation and professional development. Tell us a little bit about the ways you interact with the college, the campus community, in order to stay informed about current issues specific to the college.
So we have representatives to the board, first of all, that from the faculty, from the adjunct faculty, and from the administration, and from the students. So we have those 4 representatives that report to us at each board meeting. So we hear some from that aspect. Also, we have faculty and staff and administrators who come to all of our board meetings. That's not what it's called.
All in file. Go.
from the college at each meeting. And if you could continue, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. And it sort of reminded me of high school on final exam days, you know? So thanks for all coming back. If we were all high school seniors, we'd be gone. Thank you for sticking around. My second thing I wanted to mention was there are all sorts of different meetings that the college has, committee meetings, AERC, Faculty Senate, Staff Council, and they invite us to attend those meetings at times just as observers and listeners. We don't necessarily participate in the conversations except for to greet everybody usually. But when you hear the different groups speak about issues that are pertinent to them, it opens our eyes up. And although it's operational in its scope, it's still something that we want to make sure that we're aware of, so we can ask, hey, to the chancellor, can you look into this and report back to us what's happening? So that's the second big thing that I participate in. Thank you.
I would say that's more of a formal way of gaining that kind of input and insight. The informal way, I think, is this board, and especially our chair, is very good about attending activities that the college has. And there's always one or more of us, it seems like, at everything. And that's when you really get to hear what is happening in the college. Either whether it's by vice president or staff, I think that our board has given the community the opportunity to have relationship with us and share their concerns and also their accolades in regards to what is going on in the college. So informally, I think we're out there and we are receptive to what's being said.
I would like to add that in addition to that, we also receive letters from the community if they have any concerns. And what we do with those as a board, because we really can't respond to them directly, we forward them to the chancellor so that he can address it. And then, of course, we get the response that was how it was addressed or taken care of. And I really appreciate that, because it shows that the community is connected to the college and that they know that there's a resource for them to go to if they need to. We also have call to the audience in our board meetings. And at that point in time, they can also express any concerns or good things that they see at the college. So it's not just all about bad stuff, but anyway, thank you.
I have a question about the board's formal function. I believe you do not have a variety of subcommittees that we might see somewhere else. You would function, I would say, as a committee of the whole, with one notable committee, finance and audit. So if you could tell me about the committee of the whole function and how you can stay abreast of so many complex issues, planning, academics, programs, openings, closures, etc., and also a little bit about the finance audit committee.
So the board meets regularly. At our board meetings, we also usually have at least one study session each month, and those are opportunities for different folks in the college to instruct us, tell us, educate us about things that are happening in the college. We also have the vice chair and I meet with the chancellor once a month with a 2-on-1 meeting where he discusses things with us that are coming up or things that we want to plan for in the future. And then I guess there was one more meeting that we have. The Finance and Audit Committee. Maria and I both sit on that committee, and we meet every quarter. And that committee has members from, all across the community, not only local, but we have, finance advisors, ones from Canada, for example. And those people help us with understanding, help the board members. Maria and I ask lots of questions in those meetings to try to understand the budget and the finance and savings and all of those kind of things. And then that committee submits their report to the board also. So we have that kind of education and an opportunity to learn more.
It is my first time seeing that a committee of the board or subcommittee has external or community members. A little bit about maybe how that came about and how that serves board functions. I'm assuming audit reviews, other financial decisions would move up to the board potentially for action or vote.
So that is true about the Finance and Audit Committee, but also, we've started doing that. I'm not sure if they did it in prior boards, but when we had our chancellor selection, we had a committee that was made up entirely of community members and employees from the college and students. And I think the reason that we value the community input is because it's a broader input and it's a larger group than just the 5 of us meeting. They always do report back to us. We had another committee, we own some properties on Drockman, and we have a community group that's trying to determine what's the best use of those properties. Is that answering your question?
Maybe I'm getting in mind something quite pointed, that finance and audit, perhaps, I'm experiencing it as less a committee of the board than an overarching community group that is allowed to look inside the college and also provide some trained experience and insight.
I've been on the Finance and Audit Committee a little bit longer, and I can tell you that I'm not sure, 100% sure, but I believe that originally it was developed because of a finding that the HLC had at one time with a college. The other part is that it's very educational for me as a board member to understand the finances and what's going on. And then the committee itself, the members of the committee, because they are outside people, they give us a different outlook on what they see, which is very educational to us. So anyway, thank you.
Unique.
Just Wade reminded me to add one more thing, is that all of us on the board aren't necessarily finance people. And so we use those external folks to help the board understand. Also, we are sort of reshaping the way that we're going to do our budget at the college. In the past, it's always been toward the end of the cycle that we're presented with what's the best. But this board and our new chancellor know that we're going to start working on it a lot sooner. So we are more aware of all the components of the budget and the finances of the college.
I think there's if you look at the wall behind you, like, community is literally our middle name. We try to build community into everything that we do, not only from a transparency perspective, but that external expertise that everybody's talking about there, where we're not abdicating any of our decision-making powers, but we're trying to make the most well-informed choices that we can. So that brings together the expertise that we have internally in the college around audit and finance, or any of the other committees that were just mentioned. Combine that with external expertise so that they have a chance to voice those opinions, and then all of that is brought forward to the board for a final decision. So we're ultimately the arbiters and the voters of that on the board, but it allows us to be responsive and have the best possible decision-making process that we can, so that we're responsive to our partners in the community and we get the best outcome for the college.
Also, I just wanted to add that prior to our board meetings, we also have study sessions, reference to what's forthcoming on the board meeting as well too, and that provides the board and the community insights in reference to what will be discussed, action items, and what's forthcoming as well too. Aside from the study session, the board also provides their issues and concerns in reference to what they would like to see on their next meeting as well too, be it at a study session level first or before the board as well too.
Again, very helpful responses. Thank you. This, especially when there's something unique, it's helpful for the board members to hear your, for the visit team members to hear your perspective about how that works for you. Part of what Susan's getting at, and let me just throw it out as a very broad question, is how you view your role as board members. Boards operate very differently at different institutions, and where that line is in terms of the level of oversight and how involved they are in the day-to-day running of the institution. How does the board fulfill its oversight role? How do you view your role as board members?
I think the textbook answer would be we modify, accept, reject, and board policy. And that's our major responsibility, and to hire a chancellor in order to run the day-to-day operations of the institution. But to take that to an informal area, I think it's our responsibility to be kind of a voice of the community when we need to talk to the chancellor about how we see things. And that typically, in many instances, is done one-on-one, and not to give direction, but to give observations and perceptions. So I'd see that as the informal responsibility of us as board members.
Yeah, I mean, it's oversight and governance. I mean, and I think you heard here, some examples of while we're actively involved in things in order to educate ourselves so that we know about what's going on in terms of how things are going at the college. We are not the arbiters of day-to-day operations. We defer that very clearly in those board policies that Wade mentioned to the chancellor. And when we do get informed of issues, and I think Maria and Teresa mentioned this, we have a very specific procedure that is outlined in those policies about how we may receive information. Maybe it's from inside the college, maybe it's from outside the college. We go through the chancellor's office to resolve those issues, whether that's via email or a discussion or whatever that's happening. We refer them to the chancellor. The chancellor then can delegate it in terms of the appropriate place of the college, and then the chancellor's office closes the loop back to us just to let us know that it's been resolved. But so our role is that oversight, to set policy, to approve the budget, to approve the tax levy, all of those things, but it's not to direct the day-to-day operations of the college. The chancellor's office does that. But we do have a key role in, so going back to our previous conversation about, things we learn at national conferences. So I've had a chance to interact with a lot of other trustees, other governing board members, and the fact that we're elected rather than appointed seems to be sort of a rarity. Like, I don't have the exact numbers, but I can just say from my interactions with our peers across the country, I very rarely encounter another elected governing board member. And so that, I think, actually makes us uniquely responsive to our communities in that way, because we are elected officials. We're responsible to the constituencies in our district who elected us, and so we're a conduit of their concerns, and those constituents might be students, or they might be somebody at the college. They might just be a business owner or a partner or another organization. And so because we're sort of dually in our governing board role and in an elected official role, it allows us to be an especially effective conduit of information. Again, not to the point of directing operations, but making sure that Dr. Nassi or his team or any of the others are aware of what's going on in the community, maybe more so than an appointed board member might be able to do that doesn't have that same sort of constituent services, constituent engagement aspect of their role.
Extremely helpful, yes, and that was a very good textbook answer.
But we love that you followed it up with the non-textbook answers, so that you weren't just, you were being yourself. So appreciate that.
One of the other important roles for the board in overarching governance is engagement with institutional direction, that is a strategic plan. The current strategic plan, I believe, was poised to time out, but you have added plus 1 year. as things evolve and there are changes at the institution. Tell us a little bit about the strategic plan elements as you understand them and your endorsement of them. I think I can cue pretty quickly to achieve 60 plus additional graduation or completion rates. Those come to mind. But your comments?
I'm going to go first. Okay, first of all, one of the reasons why we extended or we requested not to approve the original plan was because we realized that we had a new leader in place. We were going to be hiring someone new. So we didn't want him to be burdened with something that was already pre-planned, but yet allow him to direct and set the strategy for the future. And understanding, too, that he has to learn what our institution is about. Now, our role basically is we evaluate what is given to us by the faculty and the different leadership committees that the college has in place. And with that, we then form an opinion about what we think should be or shouldn't be, but then it's given to the chancellor to decide. So we as a board vote. It's not one person, it's all of us together. And even if we disagree, we understand that the board decides the majority rules. So it's very clear, we have state laws. The HLC has its requirements about what is a board member's responsibility. And since I've been on the board for 6 years now, going on 6, I've had to learn the hard way. So anyway, thank you.
So I wasn't here when the strategic plan was formulated. I joined the board when it was already in effect. So I can't speak to how it was originally created, but I can speak to how we monitor it and we use it as sort of the North Star for the operations and the things that we're approving. So if you go back and look at our board meetings, you'll see fairly regular presentations related to different aspects of what's in that strategic plan to make sure that we're moving, that we're on track, or if we're not on track, to identify what the cause of that is and to look at it further. I will say it also influences the goals that we approve for the chancellor. So they're related to each other. So you'll see, if you look at our chancellor's goals, you'll see, actually we just passed a new set here that now that Dr. Nassi was here, but even going back to interim Chancellor Duran Cerda or to former Chancellor Lambert, they're connected to each other. So it's the same sort of issues you'll see in their enrollment numbers. How are we going to increase enrollment numbers, retention, the development of the centers of excellence, how we're going to transform the way that we're meeting student needs. So it is the framework by which the majority of what we do is aligned. Now, any organization strategic plan never encompasses literally everything that's going to happen. And so, we do have things that come up outside of that, but we want to make sure that most of our momentum and effort is directed towards that. And I concur with what Maria said. The reason we extended it recently was that Dr. Nassi's brand new. And so we didn't want to be like, well, in your first week, let's write a whole new strategic plan. Give him a chance to get his feet wet and understand the college. And so, and there were some aspects of the current plan that weren't yet to fruition. So that gives a little extra time to hit some of those benchmarks that we want to be able to hit in terms of the numbers, and then really allow, under Dr. Nassi's leadership and our guidance as a board, the development of the next strategic plan. So I look forward to being part of that from the ground level.
Thank you again. Brings clarity to the narrative in the assurance argument. You are stymied, if you will, by a maximum word count. You can only say so much, and it is these types of interviews that gives depth and insight to what is really going on. Wanted to bring up the topic of what has been ongoing monitoring for the college to topical areas that have to do with operations at the many locations that you have, and the other topic with processes related to complaints, disputes, grievances. How has the board been kept informed about how those two topics have been evolving in preparation for submission for this very next visit and its review?
So we've had meetings almost every month where they have been talking to us about what is HLC expects, and the alternate locations and the complaint process has been part of each of those meetings. I know that just recently our staff has rewritten the procedures and the policies for the complaint process. We've renamed our ODR. It used to be Office of Dispute Resolution, and now it's Office of Dispute Resources, because that resolution, I think folks thought that by going there, it would be resolved, because that's that last word, right? So I think that was very good that we renamed it, and the steps and the procedures. Also at the college, there were the term complaint had a lot of different meanings. So they defined that, they narrowed that, and now there's a specific procedure, and the website has also been changed. So if someone has a complaint there, it won't take them in a loop. They'll get to the right place to make the right kind of complaint. With the alternate locations, is that what you're talking about for the dual enrollment? I think that we've heard lots of information about how they're, for lack of a better word, cinching the procedures, so we know specifically who's doing what step. I mean, not the board necessarily, but the people who deal with the alternate locations, they know the steps and the procedures, so we're not skipping or missing any of those things.
Any other comments in that vein? It is multifaceted. I mean, these are complex processes institutions have to deal with. And I would say unique to Pima in my experience is the sheer volume of additional locations that you host and manage throughout the committee. A daunting, challenging number.
I just want to mention that coming back to any conflicts, issues, or concerns, but one of the things that we have yet to provide on the table is that when there is specifics, violations, or that needs to be heard by the board, we do go and discuss it in the executive with our legal representative that we have here through the college. So that's something that it's been ongoing and educating for all of us as well too. But the major issues we deal with it through executive with our legal representation, not in public.
Let me just demonstrate complete lack of social skills here and do a quick switch in topic because we have limited time left. Give us a specific example of a contribution board members have made to the success of Pima Community College. You have lots of successes probably to choose from, but how has the board been directly involved in one?
I think that the culture of an organization dictates the success of the organization, and that culture is on display every time we have a meeting in public. And prior to three of us coming on the board, there was some disarray. There was some animosity that had been projected into the community. And I think since the new majority, three of us, have come on the board, that we have established a sense of camaraderie respect, openness, and support of each other, not based on who makes what kind of decision or vote, but the fact that we're human beings trying to do the best thing we can for the college and the community of Tucson. So I think in general terms, the change in culture that has been exhibited, hopefully the community has seen that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You know, I think a great example of something where we all contributed part of was the process we designed and how we participated in hiring Dr. Nassi. So, you know, from the beginning, I think Teresa may have mentioned earlier, we did have an initial search committee in which we all nominated community members from different walks of life and different stakeholder groups within not only, you know, faculty, students, staff, but the business community and the larger nonprofit community and our educational partners and you know, all of those different institutions. And so we each had a hand in helping to select, and then ultimately all of us collectively approved that group that helped to guide the initial steps of that search process. And then, you know, we all, I think, contributed in numerous ways throughout that process. I mean, I'll compliment Teresa especially. She spent a long time, you know, meeting over Zoom with different partners from not only within the institutions of our finalists, but partners of theirs, you know, talking about what their experience has been with the finalists, and then ultimately Dr. Nassi here. And so I think that's a great example of this board doing exactly what our job is supposed to be, which was to bring on a new chancellor when our last one departed, and each one of us brought work and perspective and effort in our unique ways.
Thank you. We have just a couple of minutes left.
We're going to take a moment to move out of our role as interviewers, visitors. Do you have any questions for us as you prepare for perhaps yet again another commission visit in December, something we can enlighten you about on process?
I'd just like to offer you the opportunity to instruct us as to any suggestions you may have. This is very important to all five of us, and we want this to happen and be successful. And it takes a lot of time and effort. We are on the right track. I know it's difficult to turn this ship when it comes to the accreditation system, but we're committed to this, and that if you feel as though there's something that you didn't want to discuss today or something, please go to Wendy or someone, tell them so they can get the information back to us, because we're all committed to make this thing work.
Certainly appreciate those comments. Teams that visit choose their own menu of questions, but we believe some of the questions we offered you are illustrative of their interests. As we shared with the group first thing this morning, it is Pima's mission that we are looking to understand that you support and seek to fulfill. That has to happen through the filter, if you will, of the Higher Learning Commission's criteria and core components, just part of the member affiliation requirement. I will give you some quick feedback. Our questions were quite specific, quite pointed. Orientation, strategic plan, elements that have to do with the conduct of the board. What we didn't hear was silence. We didn't hear uncertainty. We didn't hear you answer that. The fact, in Dr. McLean's words, that we are starting to feel the culture that you referred to through those answers, that it is one of caring and accomplishment of mission in support of students. I would say that comes through loud and clear in your answers.
And nobody dominated. Everybody participated. You fed off each other's responses, which I think is really helpful to hear the same kind of thing from multiple members. That's showing that how you work together. And before we finish, just want to say thank you to Chancellor Nasty. Typically, the Chancellor is not present during the actual visit, so it's great that you're here as support. And beforehand, we said we'd really like to hear from the board rather than the Chancellor, so thank you for being supportive of the process and being here.
We do have quite a schedule ahead of us for the day, and very appreciative to have had this time with you. You appear quite well prepared for a visiting team months from now.
Thank you very much for being here, and I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for being here.